Hi, good morning everybody. Well, thank you for the introduction, and never in my wildest dreams would I ever believe that when I first walked onto this bear farm in 1993 that it would eventually see bear rescue centres in both China and Vietnam and the ultimate rescue of nearly 350 bears during the years. I knew nothing about the practice of bear farming. I certainly knew nothing about these amazing species of Asiatic black bears or moon bears because of the beautiful yellow crescent on their chest. And I joined a group of Japanese and Taiwanese tourists and walked onto this farm, broke away from the group, found some steps into a basement, and I came across my own personal hell. I'll talk to you about some of the injuries later on, but as I was walking around this farm, just so shocked and horrified by what I was seeing in front of my eyes, suddenly I felt something touch my shoulder, and I turned around, and there was this female moon bear with her paw stretched through the bars of the cage, and at that point, I just lost all sense. And something compelled me to take her paw. I would never do this today, even with our most trustworthy bears. But as I say, I took it, and this bear didn't hurt me. She just gently squeezed my fingers, and at that point, a message passed between us, and it changed the whole course of my life. And today, I know what bear farming means. It means the incarceration of between 7,000 and 10,000 bears in China. It means the incarceration of about 4,000 bears in Vietnam, all for use in the traditional Asian medicine discipline. It means various methods of bile extraction still practiced today, such as latex catheters implanted into the gallbladders and into the abdomens of these bears, or rusting metal tubes, again implanted into their abdomens, or the new method of bile extraction, which is simply called the free drip method, because it's a hole that's carved into the abdomen and carved into the gallbladder of these pitiful bears so that bile can freely drip out. And as you can see, pus is freely dripping out as well. It doesn't take a 10-year-old child to work out the pathology here. When the hole tries to heal, obviously, the farmers are now circumventing regulations, and they're putting a little Perspex catheter into that hole to keep it permanently patent. Bear farming means bears like Kiki arriving in tiny wire cages to our rescue centre, as they do. And this was a part of a rescue that we did in 2008, where we received 28 bears in disgusting conditions. Kiki, as I say, had been in this cage probably for decades, and we knew that he was absolutely terrified. First of all, actually, we knew that he was dehydrated, so we had to rehydrate him, encourage him to drink, and we gave him some orange juice. And although he was desperately thirsty, we saw that whenever he tried to lick the orange juice, he would scratch manically at his face, and we didn't really know what was wrong at that time. But we were looking at the eyes that were absolutely terrified. And when we got him out of the cage, then we saw those same terrified eyes were full of pus, and Kiki was blind. And then we saw his mouth. And we saw that every single tooth in his head was totally shattered from a jaw that was also completely broken. And that was why Kiki was in so much pain drinking that orange juice that we gave him. We also saw infected wounds all over his body, and when we finally got him on the surgery table and our vet team were thinking, how on earth are we going to mend this broken bear? Kiki made the decision for us, and he died on the surgery table. The next bear that we got in that same group was a bear that we called Chengdu Truth, and he was a skeletal animal weighing about 65 kilograms when a healthy adult male would weigh double that. We got him out of the cage, and straight away we saw a bear that hadn't stood on solid ground for years and years because of those dry and cracked paws, and the cage indentation you can see through the paws there. And then we saw he had these awful puncture marks in both shoulders, infected, and we thought, what's been going on here? And we finally realized that the bear farmer had known his bear was dying, and in order to keep this bear alive for a few more weeks and to extract his bile, he was actually injecting him in the muscles of both shoulders with inappropriate antibiotics with unsterile needles, and that's why both shoulders were so badly infected. And once again, when we got this bear on the surgery table, we found a tumour, a liver cancer, 7 kilograms in weight, 10% of his body weight, and we knew again that there was nothing we could do for this bear except give him the dignity of humane euthanasia. And at that point, that's when our staff just lose it, all of us. It's a horrible, horrible time. We've rescued 277 bears in China, 69 bears in Vietnam, and this whole process, I think, has just allowed us to grow throughout the years, certainly professionally and absolutely personally as well. We've seen more. We've seen more than anyone has got the right to see, I promise you that. But when these bears die, we get people writing from all over the world and saying things like this, which is the most beautiful thing, out of a mark of respect for Andrew, that said, "You're not weaker without him, but stronger because of him," and we are. Our staff, basically what we're trying to encourage in China and Vietnam is a revolution for animal welfare. And the revolution is happening because of amazing people like Toby and Rainbow in this picture. Those 28 bears that came in, over the course of 3 days, 11 died. And again, it's such a horrible time, but Toby and Rainbow said at one point, can we please just put these bears on grass, even though they've died, so that we're giving them the respect that they never had on the farms. And so at least they've got the sun on their backs before we bury them underground. Sorry. And our staff, our bear workers, are just so fantastic. They, when the bears die, they put flowers on the graves and they make garlands for their heads and they give those bears the dignity that they never had on the farms. But, our workers like Zhong there, when they first join us, you can see what he says. He says, before I came here, I ate dogs and I felt that any animal could be eaten. And then he says, after working here for a few days, dogs are my friends, and I think friends would never eat each other. And the same with Ding. She's talking about the practicalities of desexing your dogs and cats, when we'd be hard-pressed in the West to find a huge amount of people always saying that desexing is a good thing, not realizing that, breeding is not something that should be done routinely everywhere. We shouldn't be perpetually breeding our dogs and cats because it means overburdened shelters and it means dogs are dead in plastic bags as a result of that. So these are the leaders. This revolution is hitting China like never before. 25 years ago, I never would have believed that I would have, heard the word animal welfare. It didn't exist in those days. There was only one animal welfare group, and now there's over 50. I never would have believed I'd see people locking themselves in cages, PETA style. I never thought I'd see Buddhist monks coming along to our sanctuary as they did this April, not to pay respects to us, the team of Animals Asia, but to pay their respects to the bears, and then say at the end of their trip that the people responsible for this death and destruction would simply rot in hell. And I said to them, I didn't think you could even say things like that, but I didn't think that I'd see this burning in the street. This is when we got 33 medicine shops to give up their bear bile products and give them to us so that we could set them alight in the streets of Chengdu, communist China. And when the police came along to see what the fuss was about, and I was thinking, oh my God, we're in a bit of trouble here, they just, as soon as they realized the work that we did, they just gave us the thumbs up, said, we know what you do, and got in their cars and drove off. So this revolution is absolutely hitting China today. The doctors that we work with are absolutely phenomenal. They hate bear farming because, as they say, how can this death and disease of the bears be in harmony with nature, which is what Chinese medicine dictates, especially, again, when it sees such pathology here, those gaping infected holes, and especially when it sees gallbladders like this. Every single time, 100% of the gallbladders we remove are looking like this, diseased with foreign bodies, pus, urine, feces, cancer cells, bacteria, you name it. Livers that are just so overwhelmed with cancer. There's not one healthy bit of liver there that you can see in that picture. The doctors in China and Vietnam that are joining us now because they are so worried about human health and talking to us now, whistleblowing and saying they know that people have died after drinking contaminated bile, like this gentleman here. They are taking it for kidney disease, they're getting renal failure, they're taking it for hangovers and healthy tonics, and they're getting liver cancer. They're taking it as an aphrodisiac, and they're becoming impotent, and they're taking it as cancer cures. And would they take it if they knew that 35% of our bears are dying of liver cancer? and especially galling, excuse the pun, is the fact that it's used in all these non-essential products like teas and tonics and wines and toothpaste and even face masks and face creams. Yes, ladies, you know, you can put pus and feces and urine on your face, but will it cure your cancer? No, I don't think it will. And it's not just a welfare issue, it's a conservation issue too. 30% of our bears are arriving having been illegally trapped in the wild and caught in leg hold traps, missing a limb. And Freedom on the right there is missing a limb, both of her front paws from being double caught illegally in the wild. So all these components are adding up. You can see, obviously, it's a conservation issue. This is Appendix 1, endangered species. Vast amounts of bile are being smuggled out illegally. It's obviously a health and welfare issue for the bears, and now we know it's a health and welfare for people that are dying after drinking such contaminated bile. So we go on. We have to keep pushing and pushing until we win this campaign, and we win it through bears like this. This is a gorgeous bear called Oliver, who was part of 10 bears that we rescued in Shandong in April of this year. And straight away we saw Oliver and we were so worried about him because the bear farmer had said that he'd kept Oliver in a cage for 10 years of his life. And then he said that the farm where he'd taken Oliver from had kept him in a cage for 20 years of his life. So altogether, Oliver had been incarcerated for 30 long years of his life. We could see that he had a normal bear-sized head and body, but his legs were very, very stunted. And we also heard from the farmer that just hours before we arrived at that farm, the farmer had realized he had these metal jackets which were against Chinese regulations, and they were holding latex catheters in place in the gallbladders and abdomens. And so what he did was just rip them off the bodies before we got there. So these bears were in so much pain and dying in front of our eyes. Bears like Kylie, you can see her leaning on her elbows and on her knees because she couldn't actually put weight on her body. She was in so much pain. And Heather and Monica there looked at Oliver as we were on the road going back to our sanctuary, and they just said, he's dying, we need to do something, we've got to find a hospital, someone that's going to help us in the middle of rural Chengdu. And what on earth do you do when you're in that situation? Well, you find Rainbow, one of your Chinese staff, you get them to talk to the local police, and within seconds we were following a convoy of police cars on the way to the local hospital who were also waiting for us in their jackets, their white coats, with the oxygen cylinders, with the equipment that we needed to perform surgery in the back of a truck in the middle of freezing cold weather, 4 long hours until they finally removed the gallbladder from Oliver's abdomen. And then we just had to cross our fingers and hope that he made it on the long journey home back to China. So did Oliver make it? You bet Oliver made it. This stoic, gorgeous bear. Just as soon as this bear was released back into his cage, he trashed it. He totally trashed it. He just laughed for China, looking there in this picture here as well, just grinning as wide as he can grin after wrecking his whole den and then being released out onto grass for the first time in his life. An amazing experience. And all these bears, we give them 5-star treatment at our sanctuaries. They have Olympic-sized swimming pools, well, nearly. They have ridiculous paddling pools that BJ and Emma, our big bears, have. They have browse that they can find in their tyres in enrichment programs every day, or Banjo there still looking for his. We have blind bears like Snoopy that got her sight back after 5 long years of being blind after arriving from the farm. We have gorgeous peacemakers like Jasper who welcomes new bears in. He disrupts the odd disagreement. He's just an amazing bear, and even more amazing because this was Jasper's life for 15 long years in a crushed cage, flattened to the bottom of those bars, and now outside today enjoying the most incredible life in the great outdoors after the trials and tribulations of a long working week, and in his favourite place, on his very own hammock in our bear house. And tree parties. They have tree parties every day. They're not supposed to be destroying these trees, but my goodness, they do. And before you know it, they've unravelled that string and the bamboo protectors, and the whole thing comes down, and they're up there destroying all the browse and throwing it down to their friends below, and it goes on and on and on. And this is a 3-legged bear as well, so disability no problem for these bears. And It's not like we can stop them. We just got to let them have the best time destroying our very precious trees. They're banjo, looking there very innocently before, guess what? Of course, he destroys it as well. And even teeny tiny cubs like Maggie at the top of the tree there. And this was how Maggie came in, a tiny cub, 2 kilograms in weight, 2 months of age, a delinquent of a bear, and yet out there enjoying the great outdoors. And I don't know how long Oliver has. You know, I don't think he'll ever climb a tree, but he's teaching us so much, and he's changing hearts and minds across China and across the world. And just proving that these bears can come through the most horrible, horrible physical and psychological trauma. So when you're in your beds tonight and when you're stretching, never, never forget that there are thousands and thousands of bears out there like Oliver and like Chengdu Truth who can't stretch because they're constricted by bars. And please, please help us in our journey of 1,000 miles, in our revolution for animal welfare in China, and stay with us until the very last bear farm is closed. Thank you.